I would like to thank the Klecka, Kate, and Leitner families for giving me the opportunity to be a part of the celebration of Ray's life. I met Ray when I was 19 years old, and I don't believe there has been more than 2 days past that we haven't talked to each other. Although I might say in our early years, there was a lot of hollering instead of talking. That was due to a cocky, smart-talking West Side Irish apprentice who had a lot to learn and happened to land on the good side of the smartest electrician in Local 134, and that was Ray Klecka. Fortunately for all of us senior retired electricians, we lived and worked in the golden years of the Chicago electrical industry. The work was plentiful, and the wages and benefits provided a good living and a boost into the middle class for a union tradesman. In preparing the rest of this narrative on Ray's life, the parish is asked to follow some guidelines. One suggestion was no stories about jobs, no humorous situations, or other less than serious endeavors. At first, I thought I'm in big trouble here. My life with Ray is filled with stories, humor, and less than serious endeavors. Each one is a treasure to me, and the memories they bring are joy to my heart. However, the plan is to give you a parallel of how Ray's life followed the path that Jesus laid out for us, without any disrespect to the parish, Jesus, or Ray. At first, I really had to think hard, but it came to me, and I'll pass my observations on to you as I see them. Both Jesus and Ray were sons of building tradesmen. They both served apprenticeship and worked hard at their trade. Ray rose quickly through the steps of leadership in our industry and eventually became the superintendent of the oldest and largest electrical contractor in Chicago. His crew at times surpassed 400 men, with an addition of supervisory foreman and general foreman. He coordinated the day-to-day activities of these men and also kept the many customers happy and satisfied with their performance. He also was well respected by all the unions and their leaders in all the counties that enveloped the contractor's jurisdiction. In following our guidelines, likewise, Jesus was in charge of a group of 12 men, and he also tried to guide them towards completion of his master plan. He overcame any obstacles, and he succumbed to the politicians who were jealous of his teachings and success. Ray's vision was one of his most important attributes. He was able to see beyond the horizon and react to it. I can't tell you how many conversations we had where he predicted the future, made adjustments, and forged ahead successfully. I can't tell you how many times I would run things past Ray, and he always took them, broke them down as to the plus and minus, and then would let me decide the outcome. Once done, he was there for me with loyalty and backup, no matter the outcome, or the threats that he would have to endure. Even Jesus' best friend, Peter, couldn't match the loyalty that Ray Klecka showed me, and many other people. He was never heard saying, "You're right," or "wrong." He was there 100%, whether you were right or wrong. Ray's hold on the industry was never more evident as when he left his superintendent's job and formed a business with two of his best friends. About 2 years later, the former employer was out of business. People will tell you the axiom that no one is that important that they can't be replaced. And in most cases, that's true. But Ray proved this axiom to be flawed. Another one of Ray's great attributes was his ability to look beyond the everyday prejudices that bring so much misery to his world. He never saw color, gender, age, or quotas when it came to dealing with people. His mantra was, you want a job? If yes, see you tomorrow at this address. He dealt with personal problems of his employees as if they were related to him. He was like the Lone Ranger. He'd ride in, straighten it out, and ride off, without need for thank yous or any praise. Everyone of his own family were also Ray's concern. I'm sure that every single person here this morning could stand up and tell a story about Ray's generosity and dedication to solving a problem. Here's another parallel. Jesus was called the Good Shepherd who tended to his flock. Well, Ray Klecka was a shepherd of sorts who also tended to his flock. Aside from work, Ray, in his own way, was a family man who truly cared about his wife Darlene, his two daughters, and their husbands, and all the grandchildren. He wasn't a come sit on my knee and I'll tell you a story kind of guy. He was omnipresent to see that their lives were full and that their needs taken care of, no matter the cost or time involved. My own children called him Uncle Ray, though we weren't blood relatives. Birthday and holidays were always met with cards and gifts from Ray and Dar. His own brothers and sisters were always at the forefront of his thinking. He treated Darlene's mother as if she was his own. The generosity that Ray exuded as a regular order of business is unparalleled in my lifetime. Although Jesus showed his generosity by dying on the cross for all of us, I can say Ray's generosity was born out of his love for all people who came in contact with him. I used to tease Ray about his genealogy. He was Bohemian, and we all know that they are noted for their ability to hang on to the dollar. I told Ray he must be adopted. My proof was the way he threw money around would have killed most Bohemians. Ray's love of animals, especially dogs, was exceptional. His concept of love was exponentially far above anything he could imagine. This, to me, was an observation I witnessed over the many years of our relationship, from Max on Colmar Avenue to Dakota on Deer Point Road. The stories I can tell. When these dogs were sick or injured, Ray saw no obstacles to getting them healthy and back to normal. I've seen Ray cry over the loss of each of his dogs. Both he and Dar were dedicated to the caring of their pets. I often would tell Ray that if I could come back after death, I would want to be one of Ray Klecka's dogs. For I truly would be in heaven. For a guy whose exterior would rival toughness like Jimmy Cagney or John Wayne, whose street smarts would surpass Dirty Harry and Clint Eastwood, and his tenderness would match Mother Teresa, he truly was a man of all seasons. Although there isn't much said about Jesus' love for pets or animals, I would say Ray could give St. Francis of Assisi a run for his money when it came down to love and treatment of God's creatures. You know, when it comes to Ray's success, both as a worker, employer, and union member, I've had the insight to read and study Pope Leo's Rerum Novarum. So much so, motivated me to be a worker and union member. This papal letter was written to show the need for unions in our society to somehow bridge the gap between the worker and the employer. It was written at a time of great strife in this world, and it tried to temper the relationship between the two parties. As I have gone through my workaday life, I've associated with both parties, labor and management. Each faction has an identity of their own, a code that embodies each of their activities. And sadly but true, a force that pushes each to their limit and often destroys the good they cooperatively could create. In our case, the greatness of our industry reflects the good that has come out of labor and management relations in Chicago. You might be thinking, where am I going with this parallel? Well, here it is. The epistle that was written about Jesus and the meeting of the elders in the temple zeroes in on the fact that Jesus, as a young boy, lectured to these elders and solved questions and problems they couldn't answer. This was embarrassing to them, who were supposed to know it all. This probably is the first time he stiff-armed the politicians and started them on the road to seek revenge for his success. While the parallel is Ray Klecka possessed the knowledge and ability to bridge that gap between union and an employer. He could speak both languages fluently, and it was evident in his success. He earned as a contractor and the respect he received from the workers. My observations were that this talent made him special. I tried to duplicate those actions, and at times I've had success with one, failure with the other, or vice versa. But never did I bathe in approval of both at the same time. Ray never read the Rerum Novarum encyclical, but Pope Leo would be proud to know that God put Ray Klecka here in Chicago to ensure the electrical industry remains strong. To close this review of Ray's life, I lived it with him. I have to touch on a nickname he was given early on by his supervisory people when he became superintendent. It was the big guy. Say, this is how it was the big guy, and we would all say, this is how the big guy wants it, and that's the way it's going to be. Ray never dominated or forced his leadership on you. He guided you along until you saw the light, so to speak, and he most times let you take the credit for the right choice. I've been calling him big guy since I was 19, and still refer to him that way. Most of the old-timers are gone now, but the name still sticks with him. Now I know that the term has been used for others, President of the United States, heads of large corporations, sports legends. Yes, even God has been called the big guy. But in each of these instances, there was a noun attached to the title. For example, the President of the United States was the big guy in Washington. Dick Butkus was touted as the big guy linebacker amongst the NFL linebackers. And I would say rightfully so. Even God got tagged, the big guy upstairs. But Ray stands alone just as the big guy. And in my mind's eye and heart, he will always be the big guy. Because he truly walked the walk and talked the talk. I beg you to bear with me on this one. There's an empty spot in my heart. It's been vacated by Ray. But I know he's going to a better place. I'll miss him, and I regret I didn't have the time to tell you people the stories of the jobs we were on, the humorous situations we've been in, and the serious and less than serious adventures we encountered along the way. I confess I might not be a person who prays regularly, but I can tell you this. I won't be praying for Ray. I'll be praying to him. Thank you.